Hi guys, Tracy here with another scrapbooking process video. This time I'm starting off with my Instax printer. I wanted to do a double layout that had a lot of pictures on it, but it ended up that I had run out of photo paper for my Epson PictureMate Charm printer, which is what I usually use for printing up photos. And so because I wanted to do up 6 or 7 photos for this layout, I decided that I would use my Instax. I probably didn't need to do a double layout, although I think I ended up printing 7 photos, and if I had put them on a single layout, it would have been really cramped and I wouldn't have had the room to do the large title that I wanted to do for this one or the journaling. It would have looked cramped. So even though I went with the smaller photos, I'm glad that I did use a double layout for this, and you could easily adapt this layout to use larger photos. Sorry about that, that cut off. So what I'm doing here is I am choosing which photos I'm going to print up using the software that comes with the Instax camera. Well, it doesn't come with it, but you download it for free when you buy the printer. And I do have a video review of this printer that shows in detail how it works. So I'm not going to talk too much about it right now, other than just kind of showing you the process, the fact that these photos are being printed out from the printer, and you just basically choose your photos. You do have to connect it via Wi-Fi, and so that's a little bit of a pain. Like, you can't just start using it. You have to turn it on and then find it in the Wi-Fi, find it as a network in the Wi-Fi, and then print. But it's not too much of a hassle. It's pretty easy to do that. And the thing about it is that when it turns off, which it turns off automatically if you don't use it for a while, or you just turn it off. So here I am just replacing the cartridge. I ran out. I only had 9 prints left, or I guess I only had 6 prints left, and I had to print out 7 photos. Anyhow, when the printer turns off, your Wi-Fi automatically goes back to your regular, like the Wi-Fi of your house if you have it connected, so you don't have to undo the Wi-Fi when you're finished, which is nice. So I'm just putting it away now that I have all of those photos ready, and I'm just going to set them all aside so that they will process while I'm picking my paper. So I'm using the Skinny Love kit from the Scraptastic Kit Club, and it comes with this piece of craft paper that I was pretty sure there was a piece of the exact same craft paper from a recent kit, and there was. So I went ahead and got that. I can't remember the name of the kit that I got that out of. I think it was the one with all of the flamingos. So yeah, I can't remember the name of that. It might have been the last kit or the kit before that. It was from the summer anyhow. Craft paper is easy to find, so even if you couldn't find the exact same craft paper that came in the kit, you could always just grab 2 pieces of matching cardstock, of craft cardstock from your stash as well. So I started by cutting this large floral print. It's not a large, it's a small floral print, but cutting a large piece of this floral print. And now I'm also going to take a piece of this cloud paper from Scraptastic. So the first floral paper is from Crate Paper. Everything here came in the kit. I think every single thing I use on this layout came in the kit. And then this is also Scraptastic paper. So the cloud paper is Scraptastic, and this circle paper is also from the Scraptastic Kit Club. And I'm basically wanting a bunch of blocks of pattern paper to go across this layout and to span the 2 sides of the layout. And in my other double page layouts, I talk about some of the principles that I use for scrapbooking a double layout. And so one of them is I like elements to span across both sides. If you go to my YouTube channel, one of the playlists that I have on my main channel page is called Double Layouts. I think it's grouped with a couple of other things, but one of the playlists is definitely related to double layout. So if you'd like to see all of my double layouts, you can see them on my channel just by going to that playlist. Yeah, so that should help you find double layouts if you're looking for them. So I'm trying to make each piece of pattern paper that I cut is going to be on both sides of my layout. And I couldn't decide between the lighter pink paper from the Scraptastic Kit Club and then that triangle paper. I believe that was also from the Scraptastic Kit Club. But I decided to use this lighter pink just because it kind of blends in with the other papers that are already on this layout. And I want the papers to kind of blend into the background of this layout. So I don't want any of them to stand out as being particularly vibrant or different from the others. Although that one with the circles in the very background definitely does stand out. I want that one to be really the only one that stands out. So now I'm just playing around with a couple of different layouts for how I might want to set up these photos. And I was pretty sure I wanted to use a grid, but I thought I would try out this as an alternative look just in case. And I can't remember what I'm doing here. Sorry, I cut that out so that you wouldn't have to look at me just doing nothing for a while. So here I am, I'm going back to that grid look and I have 7 photos. I will often use an odd number of photos when I'm doing a grid, and that just leaves me an extra slot that I can use for journaling or a title or something like that. And here I'm going to use some of these Pink Fresh Studio tags that came in the kit. I love them. They're dipped in a ink of some sort and they just look absolutely gorgeous. I really love the look of them. I've decided to use these Scraptastic tags. I've already used the bottom 2 off of this cut apart sheet and I'm thinking about using the word lucky, so I'm just cutting that out as well. And I'm going to use the Scraptastic labels as a place to do my journaling. I'm going to leave them all in one piece and journal right on them with my typewriter. And I thought this word beautiful looked really, well, beautiful, and it coordinates with the word lucky, which actually the word lucky is not going to make it to my layout, but I thought it kind of coordinates in that it's got that kind of cutout mismatched look to it. And so I'm going to use beautiful in my title. I haven't quite decided what my title will be yet. And I thought about using these Amy Tangerine words, but they're too bold for all of the other colors that I have going on, so I've decided instead to use the cork letters, which actually work quite well with the warm tones in this layout, much better than the black would have. So I'm going to actually leave them cork. I know in my last video I said I almost always missed or changed my cork, but this time I'm going to leave it orange because it is a nice fall color. And so I'm just putting it on wax paper. I'm going to trim it down a little bit so that it's a bit easier for me to move it around on the page. And then I'm using the Authentique letter stickers that came in the kit, and I'm spelling out in the so that it says beautiful day in the valley. And then I had cut out this green square with the banners on top of it as an option for layering, and the way that the words just landed on it, it looked nice, so I decided I will use that as a background layer for my title. So I've decided to take some more of these cork shapes. I'm going to take the little chevrons that come on it, and I'm going to put chevrons on either side of the word beautiful. The reason I'm doing that is that the word beautiful doesn't look, it's not really obvious that it's part of the title. It looks like the title might be Day in the Valley. And so I just want to bring some of the cork elements up and surround the word beautiful with them so that you will look at all of those things, the cork chevrons, the word beautiful, and then the words below it, Day in the Valley, all as one item. And so bringing some of the cork up just helps that happen. I'm going to do something else to make the word beautiful stand out a little bit more, because compared to day and valley, it really kind of, and the fact that it's layered over so many other different pieces of pattern paper, I don't want it to blend in, so I'm going to do something else to make it stand out shortly. And I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing now either. I did just do this layout, but I seem to have some type of amnesia for it right now because I can't remember what on earth I was doing. So I'll just cut that part out, and here I am back with my Pebbles stamp that has 12 different slots and a typewriter type of a font. And the reason I pulled that out was because I wanted to do some stamping on the bottoms of my Instax photos, and I'm just sticking in some Scraptastic Kit Club die cuts that came with the kit, and I'm moving my photos around a little bit for aesthetics, but also because I want to spread some of those die cut words around a little bit, and certain die cuts go better with certain photos. So I'm just kind of trying to think about making it make good sense and also look good at the same time. I also pulled out those wood veneer pieces. One says Fancy Pants and one says Wild at Heart, I think. Yeah, Wild at Heart. Then I also took these really cute puffy stickers, also from Crepe Paper. They're from the same collection as that floral paper, the large piece that's on the top of the layers. And it's called the Wander Collection. And I'm just spreading those around my Instax photos as well. And the ones that I'm not entirely sure where I'm going to put them, I'm just putting them on a tiny little piece of wax paper, just so that I can move them around before I decide without ruining my photos. Some of them I know where I'm going to put them, so I'm putting them straight on the photo in those cases, like those little arrows that I put under Olivia's face, and also the little banner that is beneath myself and Sophie. So I had to straighten out that little banner, and now I took a photo just so I could remember where I had everything, because I did take a bit of time to figure out which die cuts would go with which photos. And so now I'm taking it all apart. And I'm going to have to outline all of these pieces of paper. That is another, I guess, tip or strategy that I use when I'm trying to do a double layout and make it look like one single layout that spans the 2 pages, is I do outlining, because what outlining does is it kind of brings all the papers together, but it also, especially when the outlining spans across the cut in the middle of the layout, it helps your eye to continue to pick up that pattern on the other side. I do keep my layouts in binders. So they're in scrapbooks that are by either We Are Memory Keepers or Recollections or American Crafts, and they're in D-ring binders. And so for that reason, when you're generally looking at this, there's going to be rings in the middle of this layout, and then you can kind of pick them up and put them together so that they make a full page. But most of the time when you just are flipping through my scrapbook, there's going to be a gap between these two. So I want to do everything that I can to make it obvious that these two should be viewed as one. And outlining is one of those things, and spanning the paper across the gap is another thing. The third thing is spanning embellishments across the gap, and I'll talk about that shortly. Sometimes I will span a photo across the gap as well, and that would mean that I would have to cut the photo, and you just want to make sure that you're never cutting anybody in the face when that happens, or cutting anything that's essential to the photo. So you want to be cutting negative space in your photo when you do that. In this case, I'm not cutting any of the photos because they're already so small that it wouldn't look that great. And secondly, because they're Instax photos and there are chemicals in between the layers of the paper, and I don't want to cut into it because it will probably ruin them. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure. So now I have to set about figuring out how I had all these papers layered in the first place. And the reason, normally I would just kind of try to make the layers look nice, but the reason I am putting the photos on here is for spacing, because I know that I want one of these photos, the one with Olivia's face, to be over on the right-hand page. And so I need to space it such that that's going to line up and look okay. So playing around a little bit with the layers here, trying to get them all back so that I know what they overall look like, and make sure that I still have enough room for my title to fall in the way that I want it to fall. And then I'm just using a pencil to draw a very light line where those 2 pattern papers need to be cut. But I'm also just outlining a little L shape around each of the corners of the papers so that I can put them all back after they're cut. So, and one for the photo, and then I shifted the paper around a little bit, so I had to erase and change one of those L's. And now I'm ready to take all these papers apart again for the second time. This time I'm going to cut where the center of the layout will be. And just so that I don't get too mixed up, I am keeping them in separate piles. And this paper is actually covered in the place where it is cut, but I still wanted to cut it properly and have it lined up the right way. It's my bottom layer, so oops, had to just adjust my camera there a little bit. Sorry about that. And my ATG is not cooperating all that well for this layout. I'm not sure why. And so then I just put that on. And what I'm doing is I'm using my grid mat on my work surface mat as a guide for lining up these papers, as well as the pencil marks that I put on the layout. And as I go, I'm erasing each of those little L's because I don't want to forget where they were. It's easier for me to remember something if I just do it in a really systematic way. So I'm placing a paper and then I'm erasing the L's and placing another paper and erasing the L's again. So my left page of this layout is, the base of it is completed. So the main layers, there are 2 more layers to go on there, but those are the main layers that create the overall shape of the layout. And now I just want to lay this one in such a way that it lines up properly with the other coordinating piece on the other side. Again, I'm erasing those L's. And now I'm going to place this top layer. There we go. And erasing the L's again. And this one can be placed last. And one thing that I did when and I'm just making sure that it's in around the same spot. I'm finicking a little bit with this. Finicking, is that a verb? I don't know. Yeah, so I'm basically, when I cut out these shapes, I wanted a variety of vertical and horizontal blocks. So you see that the circle paper that I'm working on right now is a large, very long rectangle, and then it's a horizontal rectangle, and then the blue cloud paper is a vertical rectangle, and then the top paper with the flowers on it is almost a square. So it's more of a fat rectangle. It is horizontal, but it's so slightly horizontal that you almost don't notice it. And now this one is going to read as a long horizontal rectangle as well. And I like to have a combination. If they were all long horizontal rectangles without that vertical one there, the blue one, it would look a little bit too boring to my eye. So I like there to be a little bit more variation. So that's why I always try to put at least one going in the opposite orientation and at least one that's almost a square or a square. So now I'm just taking some little foam dimensional adhesive. I've got a couple different brands here, but I'm using the Stampin' Up! Ones at this point. And I'm just putting them under a couple of the corners. Now I'm going to go back and place these. I'm referring to my phone, the photo on my phone, which is just out of screen there over to the right. And so that banner, that wood veneer banner, is going to span across the gap in the layout. That's one of the embellishments that's going to span the gap. And I just need to put these words in place so that I can space my photos in such a way that there will be room for the words. Trying to put everything back. I can't find the word cute. I'm looking for it, but then I found it. It was kind of right in front of me the whole time. So there we go. I'm just about ready to start gluing things down now. I can tell that there's going to be room for everything to line up the way I want it to look. And before I start gluing things down, I have to change the color of those die cut words and also the wood veneers. So I'm taking my Heidi Swapp Coral Color Shine, and I'm just going to grab everything that I'm going to mist that color. Those would be the wood veneer banners and those exclusive words that came in the kit. The wood veneer banners are also exclusive to the kit. And I'm just giving my mist a really good spray, or a really good shake, just to make sure that it's mixed well. And I'm going to zap these with my heat gun just for good measure to make sure that the color's all set. It's not going to transfer onto my fingers or the project. And the wood veneers are just slightly different color than they were originally. It didn't change the color of them all that much, but they do. I like them. I like them misted that color. So I'm just taking a minute to make sure I have everything that I need and I know where it's going to go. And I'm having a bit of trouble with balance on this one because I need to put So Brave beside Sophie because she was afraid to stand there and get her picture taken. And then I want to put the Bestest next to our group photo, but then I didn't want the Bestest and Wild at Heart to be too close together, so I had to move Wild at Heart over a little bit to the left, as opposed to putting it on the photo of myself and Camilla. So, finally all ready. And now I'm going to pick out a couple of more embellishments. I'm going to put that camera down there just because there's so many photos on this layout. I think the camera will be a good embellishment for it. And then I just need some embellishments to go over these tags in some layers. I found a couple of more embellishments that would look good on some of the photos, so I'm putting those there too. And I'd love to have another layer behind that yellow heart, so I'm looking for another layer for behind that heart. These are the crepe paper die cuts that came in the kit. I think it was called an ephemera pack. And yeah, so I went with a cardstock heart to use for that layer. And I'm just looking for my pen. I can't find my pen anywheres. So I'm going to go ahead and get my 005 pen, which is the most fine point pen that I have. It's good because this is a small embellishment anyways. I'm just going to layer it for a little bit more emphasis. It's exactly the same shape as the layer above it, so I just want to do something to show that it's different. I want it to point out, and I'm using my tiny attacher to attach those three things together. Using my ATG to attach these two tags. Again, they're from Pink Fresh Studio. And my ATG is not going to do a great job of sticking the word love to those tags, but it'll do. And I'm going to use some Tombow Mono Multi to stick that kind of group of embellishments to the word love. And I kind of like how that looks. So that's my main kind of embellishment, I guess. And then I've got little embellishments on each of the photos. My ATG is just not working for me, so I switched to my Tombow tape runner. It's Tombow Mono something or other, and I really love that tape runner. It's great. I like it for jobs when my ATG is just too big, but also when my ATG is not sticking like it is today. The Tombow seems to always stick. So again, I'm trying to span a couple of embellishments across the gap between these two pages, and this little tip of the banner is one example of that. So then I have to line up this photo with the one of Olivia and then line up the banner so that it looks like it just continues across the page. Like that. It doesn't need to be perfect, but I try my hardest to make it look perfect because then, I don't know, it's going to come close to looking perfect, I guess. I'm allowing for some error. And I know that once it's in my book, it's not going to sit exactly perfectly in the page protector anyways. So if I go to too much trouble to make it line up exactly perfectly, then it's all going to be for nothing because the pages are going to shift around a little bit. Just taking my X-Acto knife to cut just the little tail off of the R so that it's on the other page. And then I don't want that to flop around too much, so I just took another little bit of the Tombow Mono Multi to stick that tag in place and make sure it doesn't move around when it's in the page protector. I'm fussing a little bit more than I need to with this because, like I said, it is going to shift around in the page protectors once I have it in my album, but I like it to at least start out looking good, and then if it shifts around, that's okay. So for this one, it's a little bit bigger than the picture, so I'm just going to trim off the excess so that you can't see it. And there you go. It says the bestest, and it's overlapping with the other photo a little bit, which is fine. It allows me to minimize the space between the two photos. I don't want them to be too spaced out. Then I'm attaching So Brave to the one of Sophie and I. And I like how that little banner sticker that says You and Me hangs off the edge of that pattern paper. That little cloud looks good right in the blue sky like that. And then I want to put a layer under the ampersand. And so these washi stickers by Studio Calico that came in the kit, they seemed like the perfect layer to go under that ampersand. They have some of the blue that's elsewhere in the layout. I tried to stick to fall colors, oranges, yellows, and then that teal bluish color. So it's coming along. I'm just going to put some foam adhesive on the back of this camera embellishment from the Crepe Paper Wonder collection of ephemera pieces. And now, just to make this word beautiful stand out a little bit more and be a little bit more obvious that it is part of my title, I'm just going to outline it. I did find my journaling pen, my thicker journaling pen, so I went ahead and outlined it. And I think that this just does a really nice job of helping this word to stand out a little bit and just make it look like it's more a part of the title. This word was cut out of a piece of the crepe paper from the Wonder collection that came in the kit. I can't remember the name of the piece of paper, but it's definitely from crepe paper. And it just was filled with all kinds of words. So I just cut out the word beautiful. So I'm just going to put these cork letters that spell the word valley. These letters also came in the kit. And I'm going to stagger them a little bit to give them more of a casual look. It was a casual day, so I'm going to kind of bounce the letters around so that they're not all lined up. It says Day in the Valley, and then there's the word beautiful. I'm playing around a little bit with placement, but I'm going to put it where I was originally planning to put it. And I'm going to put these chevrons on first because I don't want them, this is where I want them, so I'm starting there and I'll work over to the right from there. I'm going to pop up the word beautiful with these pop dots from Stampin' Up. But I'm not going to tear off the backing of all of them. I'm only taking the back off of the 4 top and bottom in the extreme corners. That way, if I want to reposition it, I don't have to tear apart 10 different pop dots. I only need to do 4. But I ended up not changing my mind. Then I just put the other cork chevrons on the other side of the word beautiful. And now I'm going to put this camera in place. Again, I just took off the 4 extreme corners in terms of removing the backing. And I did remove one of those pop dots that was under there, adding some dimension because I don't want dimension behind that camera. I think I actually did not yet place the camera. I thought about it and then I didn't. I think I'll do that last. So I went away to my typewriter and typed in a fairly messy way. My typewriter is very old and it works quite well, but I'm not that great at lining things up on it. So I tend to just go with the messy look instead of trying to make it look like it was supposed to be neat. I just make it look like it was supposed to be messy. So there's that. And I was planning to tuck that in behind the layers, but I typed too far over to the edge pretty consistently. So rather than covering up some of the edges of the words, I decided to layer it on top of the photos. I really, from a design perspective, I would prefer it tucked in under, but in the interest of keeping the message intact, like the journaling intact, I do like it placed over top so that I can read it. So this is what the layout looks like up close. I did outline that little star that also came in the ephemera pack and just stuck it on at the end there. It just adds a little bit of interest to the camera. And here's the other side. I really love those tags. They make such a beautiful embellishment. And now there are some photos coming up after this. So thanks so much for watching. If you guys have any questions or comments, just leave me a comment below. I'm also going to be recording a scrap chat fairly soon, which is my question and answer segment. So if you have any questions for me that you'd like me to address or talk about in my upcoming scrap chat, just leave me a comment below or on Facebook or Insta, wherever you want. I will just gather up a bunch of answers and questions over the next week or so, and I will either be recording it on Sunday or Monday. So in the meantime, have a great scrappy week.